Hello, fellow anglers. This is episode 26 of the Midwest Angler Podcast. I'm Scott Sturman, joined by Matt Deitch. How we doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
First day of summer vacation for me, and
That's right.
I got to do some fishing, so
That's right.
I can't complain.
Did pretty good.
Yeah, I went down to the river here in town and had a lot of action throughout the whole time I was down there. It was pretty much everywhere I went to. I had bites.
Yep. Finally got some decent enough weather, and the
Right.
river's starting to get down to a fishable level again. And
Yep, it's getting to be about like that perfect. It's just about that perfect level.
Yep.
You know,
yeah, you don't
July
want it
it
too far
can
down
get
there.
really low, and
Yep.
early in the spring it can get pretty high. It's just about to that perfect level, and where there's some slack water that you can fish, and it's not just all moving
Right.
really fast.
Right. Yeah. Well, with the nice weather, I was able to get out and do some fishing this last weekend. Kind of a busy weekend. I took off early from work on Thursday and went out to Lake Francis Case with some guys from over in Larchwood. Fished the Pease Creek area and had some guys who caught some decent walleyes. We never put up big numbers at all, but we caught fish. But throughout the 2 days that I fished, I don't know, I maybe caught 10 to 15 walleyes, and not one of them was over 14 inches. So, gal, man, there was some times where I would, start reeling in, set the hook, and it was like, oh, finally, this is the one. This one's got some shoulders on it, and it got 13 inches. It's like, what in the world? But fishing with bottom bouncers like that, fishing with a bottom bouncer anywhere from about 12 to 23, 24 foot of water, and minnows with spinners behind it, and we did have some luck with night crawlers too. But that's just a style of fishing that is totally Spanish to me.
Me too. I haven't done much bottom bouncer fishing in my life. I've always thought it was kind of boring at times, but when the bite is good, it can be a lot of fun.
When I first got out there with these guys and they're doing the bottom bouncer thing, and I'm like, I don't know about this. So I had my jigger out along, and I started casting, and they were catching, and I wasn't, and finally it was like, all right, well, if you can't beat them, join them. So, I started doing it, and, we never put our rods in a rod holder. We always had our rods in our hand, and I kind of had more fun than what I thought I was going to when I first did it. When you would finally get a bite, it was like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. And sometimes they'd hit it like a sack of potatoes, and sometimes you just kind of feel some light taps and
feel them chewing on it.
Yep, yeah. Then you'd set the hook and in she'd come. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Great group of guys, and just a cool area down there.
Missouri River is
kind of reminds me of the Black Hills, right where we were at. On one side, it was kind of some bluffs with not many trees, and the other side it was cedar trees, I think, and just covered, packed, and really a beautiful area. No, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time, and so then I ended up coming back on Friday night. So basically, I got 36 hours worth out there, and Kayla wanted to head over to Okoboji, so we did. Me and you were able to get out, caught a couple walleyes, smallmouth, turned around, did some pan fishing, and so it was all in all a good weekend. I'm enjoying the good weather, and
can't complain about that. What do we say about three? We've had about 3 days where we haven't had rain, so that's kind of a first in a long time.
That's a record for this year. So
did you guys catch anything else besides walleyes out there?
There was a few guys who did hook some smallmouth while trolling for walleyes, and I was not one of them. I ended up catching a white bass, so that's one more for the species count.
Yeah.
And that was fun. When you started reeling it in, and I don't know how big of a white bass it was, 14 inches, 13 inches, whatever. But, it instantly, you knew it was fighting harder than the walleyes that I had. So it was like, holy smokes, maybe this could be the one I've been looking for. And it wasn't. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked catching that just as much as anything else. As far as I was concerned, we could throw back every single walleye because I didn't really need to keep them. But it was something different, and it was fun to catch. I'm glad I went, glad I caught it. So
one nice thing about that, like when you're bottom bouncer fishing, for one, you don't know what you're going to catch.
Right.
And another thing about it is, It is kind of nice fishing if it's a bunch of people with each other. You can put out a bunch of them, and if you want to put them in the rod holders, you can. You can hold on to them, and it's just kind of a nice leisurely way of doing it instead of just casting and moving. Yeah, you just kind of find a break and keep going along with that.
Yep.
Adjust to the water that you're in.
You know, and I think me and you were that way, and I was talking to my neighbor Jeremy, and he was kind of the same way. He's like, you know, trolling just doesn't really seem real fun to me. He's like, you know, and us too, you know, we like to have the rod in our hand, you know, throwing out jigs and, you know, like to feel the bite, set the hook and whatever. But, you know, I don't think trolling would be the most fun in the world if you were by yourself, but the fact that, you know, it is relaxing and, you know, you're staring off at the shore and, you know, you're telling jokes and, you know,
then all of a sudden the rod just boom, bends over.
And the excitement of everyone in the boat, you know, whoa, hey, all right, you know, whatever. And so, no, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. And next year I think I'm going to try to get out for the whole weekend. Those guys all go out on Thursday, stay until Sunday. They got a nice cabin rented out there, really cool place. And I think when I was there, I think that there was maybe 18 of us or something like that. And the day that I left, more guys were coming out.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, just
always a fun trip.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So,
and you know, and the bite over at the lakes is still on fire. Like you said, we caught a few walleyes. The yellow bass are really going. The bluegills, people are catching some nice bluegills. Thing about that is, you know, they're coming up to spawn. Just always remember to release those big ones.
Yep.
I mean, the males and the females. The males are the ones that protect the nest.
Yep.
So, got to kind of be selective harvest there. But there's a plenty of 7 to 8.5 to 9-inch
Yep.
bluegills that are biting over there. Crappie bite's been pretty good.
Yep.
Some guys have been getting onto some crappies again there. Those big ones, let them go, because crappies are such a kind of a finicky spawning fish the way it is. I think they're mostly finding those up in the shallows, the
Right.
panfish. They're moving up there to spawn, or the deeper pockets. Variety of techniques. The other day when my dad and I dropped you off, we went out and caught some yellows for a while, and we used plastics the whole time because we didn't have any wax ones or anything like that. And I was like, well, you know, plastics worked for us the other day, or for me the other day, so let's give it a try. And yeah, we started catching them and caught them good. And he caught one that was probably about 12 inches again, another big one. Yeah.
Yeah, right when you guys dropped me off, I saw some bluegills down underneath the dock when I was walking back, and I couldn't just walk by them. So I ended up catching 2 bluegills and 1 yellow bass before I quick ran inside and whatever. But no, yeah, the bite in the shallows, my parents' dock, I don't know if it can be 5 foot at the end.
Right.
And yeah, it's nonstop action out there. If you have a little kid, get over there. And they're on the north side of East Okoboji there. On the north side, kind of in the Barefoot Bar area, and I think, judging by pictures I've seen and whatnot, I think all along that stretch right there, a lot of people are catching them. Great for little kids to get them out on the dock. And
well, anybody.
Yeah,
you want action.
Yeah, we're not above that.
It's a good time, and they put up a heck of a fight. You know, those bluegills, you hook into one of them big bluegills, you're gonna know.
Yep.
Especially if you have light tackle. That's always the fun part, is to get some lighter stuff and go over and try for those. I think on West Okoboji, they're doing really good with it too. Seems like a lot of guys are catching some big yellows.
Yep.
I think those are coming from both east and west. The walleye bite is going good on Spirit. See a lot of good reports. Bullheads up on the grade, they're catching bullheads.
We got to go up and get one for the species count.
Yeah, you got the white bass for the species count, like you said. You got the crop. You got a crop. What are we up to? 12 or 13?
Yeah, it's something in there. I'm not exactly sure what it is, 11 or 12. And
I was really hoping to catch a sauger today at the river so we could get that.
Yeah,
that's
that'd be
kind
a
of a
cool
tough
one.
one
Yeah, definitely.
And
you know, the white bass is kind of one that's, you know, not something that you really think about right off the bat.
Right, unless you go to South Dakota, like go to Lake over in South Dakota.
Yeah, are they pretty plentiful over there? Yeah.
A couple of those lakes, but again, if it's a slow day, it's fun.
Yeah.
Like you said, they do put up a heck of a fight.
Yeah, it was
we
fun
call them
catch.
white lightnings all the time when we catch them, because they go, and there's like 3 or 4 of them behind them, following them up, and
kind of just like a yellow bass on steroids, really.
Right. Yeah, that's a good comparison there. There's one time last year I was out with a buddy of mine, Heath, and we've gotten to a little pocket of them, and your jig would no more than hit the water, and it would just,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a good time. And like I said, if you catch one of those that's about an 18-incher, it's like pulling a hubcap through the water, and they're tough. There used to be a good population in Spirit Lake,
Okay.
but I don't know what happened to them all. There's not many over there
Because you
anymore.
caught them in silver.
Yep,
Yep.
caught them in silver, but like Spirit Lake used to have like some really good ones. I can remember going to the spillway by the hatchery over there when we were younger, and people would be in waders out on like where it goes into east there, and they'd be casting twister tails, and you could see the whole school out there
Really?
chasing the twister tails and catching big ones. And I know I've seen guys. I caught one a few years back in a bass tournament. A few nice ones while I was trying to fish for smallmouths and largemouths, and
Yep.
yeah, and heck, the state record was just caught the
I was
other
going to
day.
say, speaking of white bass, state record, and I think I got the information on that right here. That was 5 pounds, 2 ounces, 21 3/4 inch.
Wow, that's
That is
that'd be
a
heck of
dinger.
fight.
Yeah. Like I said, that one that I caught, maybe 14 inches or something like that. You had
Right.
another half a foot and then some onto that. I mean, that,
Those-
I'm sure when he hooked that, he was like, holy moly, what do I got?
Probably my guess is that he probably thought he had a big smallmouth, but when he got that thing up, I mean, you're not used to seeing them
Or a
21
drum.
inches. Yeah,
Yeah.
or yeah, a sheep's head, yeah. So that's, what is that, like 2 or 3 state records that have been weighed over in that area this
Well,
year
the
so
perch,
far? That
the
perch.
white bass.
Is there anything else?
No.
Maybe not.
The what was it, North Dakota walleye record that ended up not being.
A record. So yeah.
Sturgeon record up in.
Sturgeon, yeah. Catch and release through the ice.
It really is kind of crazy, you know. I mean, we've had a lot of state records cracked, you know, here in the last little bit. This isn't something we really planned on talking about, but what do you feel about that state record walleye up there, even if it was foul hooked? I mean,
Well, if it was fouled hook, then it shouldn't count.
yeah,
Right. Because he didn't catch it. I mean, he caught it, yeah, he reeled it into the shore, but yeah, I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Did he try to snag it? No, but sometimes those things happen. And I don't, if it's a fouled hook deal like that, it shouldn't count.
I get that. I agree with you there. I mean, you know, you got to catch the fish, but at the end of the day, that still is the state record.
Right, but but he didn't catch it. He reeled it in. We don't know. Yeah, for all we know, he could have been out there ripping that thing, and maybe
Right.
he saw it up in the shallows. And
I did hear that there was a pocket in this area where this guy was fishing, that all these fish were stacked up,
Right.
and that people knew about it. And there was some speculation that maybe he was going in there and ripping through the pocket and you know, trying to snag them. I wasn't there. I'm not going to say that that
Right.
was truly what he was doing, but you know, anyone can say what they want on Facebook. But that's what I read. But you know, I guess like I was kind of thinking about it, and you know, I guess it's really no different than somebody over at the gill netters for the Iowa DNR over at Okoboji and whatever. You know, every year I think that they say that they gill netted the state record
Right.
muskie, you know, something that would break the state record. But you know, at the end of the day, whether or not he hooked that thing in the mouth or not, and it might not go down in the record book, but you got a 17-inch or a 17-pound walleye.
right,
And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel bad for the guy because obviously that isn't the way he wanted it to happen either.
right. And then another thing is too, if he intentionally did it, I don't think there would have been video. He wouldn't have videoed it and put it out there, or his buddies. If his buddies had videoed it, he would have been like, no, because that's how they found out that it wasn't. Because if
Right.
you watch that video, you could see the hook, the jig kind of towards the back, and there's a bunch of them that then there's people that were like, well, no, it was in his mouth and it popped, and that happens.
Yep.
I mean, we've all done that before. You catch a fish, you get it in the net, and it gets caught in the net, and it starts shaking around, and it can hook into some other part. But yeah, it's a tough deal.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd
I
be
don't
like
know,
it'd be like
if he did do it honestly, you know, I mean, and if he, especially if he had it in the mouth and it fell out when it got into the net and, you know, then hooked into his side, they said that there was clear puncture mark in the thing's mouth. And like, I didn't see it, so I
Right.
can't say that for sure. But, even after they disproved it, the DNR, he still said, that ain't what happened, I hooked it in the mouth, whatever. And if it was that way, I feel bad for the guy.
Well, so do I. I mean, I guess here, what happens if you're throwing a Rapala? And
Right.
it has 3 treble hooks on it, and it comes up and smacks your Rapala, and it gets hooked in the side of the face.
We have that
And you
with yellow bass all the
Right.
time.
You reel it in, and it's just like, did you really catch that fit? I mean, what if you do that and it's the state record? It's just like, well, there's not a hook in its mouth, but there's one on the side of the face or something like
Like
that.
it clearly
So-
tried to strike, and
So, yeah, I guess I could see it all, but it almost comes up to that point too with social media. That's kind of one of the bad things about social media
Yeah.
sometimes.
20 years ago, he would have had the state record
Right.
probably, and
There
that
would've
would have been
no-
that.
Yeah.
Because they would have never videoed it.
Yep.
He would have brought it in, and that would have been that.
Yep. So it almost brings up that point. Do you ever really want to catch a state record? And if you do, you want to call up the conservation officer right away. It's just like shooting a big monster buck.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you shoot a big monster buck. Sometimes before you do anything, it's just like, I'm going to call the CO to come out here and to show that everything is legal. Because there's always going to be somebody that questions it and says, they didn't shoot it legally. Oh, they didn't shoot it legally.
Well, look at that guy with that perch over there.
Right.
I mean, he caught it in a private pond, okay, and just the people talking trash on him afterwards,
Right.
like shooting fish in a barrel and blah blah blah. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, no one, well, and who knows, but I mean, I think the state record bluegill was caught out of a private pond.
Largemouth.
A largemouth out of a private pond. I mean,
A lot
what's
of
the
fish,
difference?
yeah.
And I mean, if you're going to recognize all those, you got to recognize this one. And
Put an asterisk by him, just like in baseball.
yeah. So here's a follow-up question to that. And I know you're not much of a fish mounter. So you snag 17 and a half inch or 17 and a half pound walleye. You putting them on the wall? Even
Well,
a
yeah.
replica?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's like, because this is like, if I know myself that I caught the fish, like in that net thing situation happened, well, yeah, then I will. But if it's one of those deals where if I'm out fishing and like happens to us in the river here, sometimes you're throwing a twister tail or something like that, and all of a sudden, boom, you hook a carp by the tail.
Yep.
And if I caught one like that, I would probably just take pictures and let it go. And it's that big, but it's just, there's just a piece of me that's like, I didn't actually catch that
Yep.
fish. It was a complete accident. I want it to be like I was fishing for them.
You outsmarted that
And I caught the
Yep.
fish. So I guess, I'm not saying that if I was ever fishing for bass and I caught like a 18-pound walleye or something like that, I'd be like, well, I was fishing for bass. I can't, I don't know. This doesn't count. The record, no. Then I'd still be like, yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
mean,
what you're saying.
Technically, you didn't actually catch it, and whatever. I don't know. I'm still putting it on my wall, and as far as I'm concerned, I still hold the state record for biggest walleye. Like I say, put an asterisk by it and whatever. But I'm sure that there's plenty of people that are like, nope, you're wrong. Yeah, I get it. It's not the same as catching one with a hook in the mouth, but at the end of the day, no one in the state has pulled a bigger walleye than you out of the water,
Right.
no matter how you hooked it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. That's crazy. I'm glad I'm not in that position.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for the guy if he did everything right and something like that happens. I mean, if he unintentionally did it, and you get the Facebook police, the social media police just jumping on there and bashing the guy.
Yep.
It's just like a few years ago out in, I think it was Oahe, where that kid caught that big northern through the ice.
Yep.
Just that monster northern. And everybody, he was going to keep it and get it mounted. And people chastised him like crazy. And it's just like, come on, knock it off.
You ever seen when one of the bait shops at Okoboji posts a picture of a muskie?
Well, yeah, that's anywhere. Anywhere if
Yeah.
anybody ever,
Yeah.
or even a big fish of any.
Yep.
And somebody keeps it, everybody, am I disappointed sometimes? Like, yeah, it kind of sucks to see, but they have every legal right to do it. I'm not going to jump on there and bash them for
Right.
it. Like, where's it my position to say? I mean,
Right.
they're legal.
Yep, the DNR,
So-
as long as they have a fishing license and they're following the rules, after that.
And you know, some of those fish need to be taken out.
And rules are meant to be broken. Records are meant to be
Right.
broken, you know, I mean, that's why there is records, you know,
Yeah.
so that people can break them and yeah, I get you'd like to see that fish swim again, but yeah, god dang it. As long as they're gonna do them out and keep it, I'd feel terrible if some guy keeps some whopper walleye, like, no,
Well, you know,
do
there
some
was-
good fillets.
I saw a picture today on one of the pages that I follow, and a guy had had a picture of his kid with like a stringer with 6 largemouth on it, and holding them and smiling, and he's like, we were going to throw them back, but the kid wanted to keep them, and he was so excited, and they're all like 14, 15-inch largemouth, 16-inch largemouth, and you know, obviously there's a few guys that were just like, oh, that. But the majority of the people were like, hey, those are good eaters to keep. If you're going to
Yep.
keep a fish, that's the one to keep. Don't keep those big ones, or like those 18 to 19s.
And you know, I think we could go out on a limb here and say the people that are mainly catching bass aren't the people that are keeping them.
Right.
You know, it's the weekenders that, you know, go and, you know, if they catch a walleye, if they catch a bass, if they catch crappie, you know, whatever they catch, they're planning on keeping and eating.
Right.
And so I don't think that they're putting that much of a hurt on the population. You know,
They're not. You kind of run in, when you start doing that though, you kind of run into the Mille Lacs Lake thing. And I don't really want to get into Mille Lacs because I get sick of hearing about Mille Lacs up in Minnesota and people talking about it all the time. But a while back when the fishery kind of got in a little trouble, like it started to go down, is when they took their walleye, where you couldn't keep a walleye. Well, all these charters and guides out there that were bringing these people out, it's like, well, now it's like those people don't want to do catch and release. The only thing we can keep is smallmouth. So you started seeing all these huge stringers of smallmouth bass coming in, and so that was kind of a big controversial thing. And now they kind of started getting some of the regulations on those up there to help protect some of them big ones, and now it's just a world-class fishery all the way around.
Yep.
I mean, you can go up there and catch giant walleyes, giant smallmouths, giant muskies. So
I realize it's an avalanche thing, you know, I mean, everyone has to do their part, and you
Right.
know.
And you see some of the, it's not just up there, you see some of the Missouri River guides sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You'll see some of those pages where they have a stringer full of walleyes and a bunch of smallmouths on there too, but again, it's legal, they
Yeah.
can do it, I mean.
I got a buddy who's a guide out there on the
Yeah.
Missouri River, and he said it would make you sick if you've seen some of the walleyes that I've put a knife to.
Right.
And you know, these people are catching a 27-inch walleye, and you know, he'd kind of tell them, boy, if you're going to keep that one, it ought to go on the wall. You know, that
Yeah.
ain't one to fillet. Nope, that's one we want to keep. You know, that's one we want to keep. No, why don't we let that one go and catch another, you know, 17er? Nope, we're good with that one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, what, you know, they're paying you to
Right.
bring them out.
It's
And,
their right to keep it, and
Yep.
I'm not one of those people. I don't know. I think you are. That's going to walk up and just be like, oh, you know, start calling them every
Right.
name in the book.
Right.
You might try to educate them and talk to them about it. That's the best thing to do.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm not about to try to get in any arguments with anybody
Right.
down
Right.
anywhere. So
So,
I mean, like I said, going back to that state record walleye. If it wasn't in the mouth, it's just like if you're fishing for spawning bass. You know, there's a lot of tournaments and a lot of things that it has to be inside the mouth when you catch it, because otherwise people could pull up there and you see a 5-pound bass sitting on a bed, and you get your lure set up just right and give her a yank, and
yep.
I mean,
I think I've always kind of been more of a skin mount guy than a replica guy, but on something like that, and I'm slowly changing. You know, I as replica mounts are definitely looking very good,
Right.
whatever. But I think I'd let, if I had hooked that walleye, and I knew that it was foul hooked, I think I'd let it go. But I think I would get a replica mount.
Yeah.
And you know, be honest with people. Hey, whatever. I caught the state record walleye. It's not recognized as a state record walleye because I snagged it accidentally. But yeah, that's it, and that's 17 and a half inch, golly, what is wrong with me? Why 17 and a half inch?
You're not used to saying a 17 and a half pound walleye. We're used
I'm
to
not
saying
even used to
17
saying 17 and a half inch walleye. I'm used to saying 13 and a half inch walleye.
People are going to start to question your credibility
Yeah.
when you're going off on a 17 and a half inch walleye.
Yeah, no, 17 and a half pounds. Hoofda, golly, that's
But
a
you're just
tough
not
one.
used to saying it.
Yep. No, yeah, back to the Rock River, catching some smallmouth, and me and Jeremy got out there the last couple days. We've been catching some smallmouth, whatever. So last night, I got snagged, and so I get snagged, and all of a sudden my jig just kind of slides like 2.5 feet, and I'm like, what in tarnation is going on here? Because, I mean, it just slid off to the side. I mean, I can watch my line go, and I'm like, what in the world is that? The night before, me and Jeremy had seen a snapping turtle down there, so I'm kind of thinking like, golly, I wonder if I was kind of snagged on a snapping turtle, because my jig came back, whatever. Well, it wasn't, but, I don't know, 5-10 minutes later, same spot again, and I hook something, and I pull out half a fishing rod. The end of a fishing pole. And, so, I took a picture with it. That was kind of funny, whatever. That's never happened. I'm sure it's happened to other people, whatever. So, then last night, my friend Oakley Campanen out in the Black Hills, South Dakota, catches a clam. Sends a picture of it to me, Facebook Messenger, and, we're kind of laughing. And I told him, I caught half a fishing rod. So whatever, we're talking back and forth, and it really got me thinking, like, what's the wildest stuff that you've ever hooked into accidentally? What's the wildest thing that you've ever found on the bank while fishing? And, obviously I would say as far as hooking, half a fishing rod might be the looniest thing I've ever, I can't think of anything else that really sticks in my mind, but back probably, it's got to be 15 to 20 years ago, me and my brother, my dad, and my mom and dad's friends and their kids, we were all fishing at the grade for bullhead. And all of a sudden this kid, Trevor, they're from Sheldon, Iowa, he pulls out this little vial. And it's a little glass vial, and you can see it's got paper rolled up in it. And we're like, what in the world? And it's a note. And the weirdest thing was, it was wet because the vial was cracked. And the second that we got it out of the water and started reading it, it was like once the air got to it, it just kind of disintegrated that paper. But it was a note from a lady who had thrown that vial out there at some point, and I don't remember the date, but it was a long stinking time ago, and a Confederate dollar. And Trevor ended up keeping it. Who knows if he still got it or if it's lost or whatever. But yeah, a stinking Confederate dollar. And I don't know when the Civil War took place. I guess I'm not a history guy, but that's pretty crazy in Spirit Lake, Iowa.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We had your father-in-law talk about catching a full beer.
Yeah. That was a couple years ago on Fox Lake over by Sherburne, Minnesota. He was trolling along and hooked into something and fought it for a while and brought it up, and it was a full Schmitty Big Mouth.
How'd it fight, Barry?
Caught it right on the cap.
Yeah.
Right in. So he caught it by the mouth, I suppose. Other weird ones that I've seen before, we were up north at one time, and I can't remember which one of my brothers it was. I think it was Brant. Hooked into something and reeled it up and just about got it to the top of the water, and we're just like, what is that? What is it? Because it wasn't moving or anything like that, and it was a dead loon. So it was just kind of like, quick unhook it, just let it go. That's all you can really do. Other things, a weird thing, my dad, his claim to fame is that he caught 25 fish in one cast at one time, because him and Grandpa were fishing and dropped the fish basket over the side of the boat. So he got a big jig on and a lure and dropped it down there and kind of finagled it and caught the fish basket back. So
Nice.
he got that. You always see some weird stuff, but those would probably be the ones that I can think of. You know, you talk about that with the half a rod. Did you find out? I know somebody was talking to me about it.
Yeah, it was me.
That was you talking about it.
Yeah,
It
me
wasn't
and
your-
Jeremy both broke rods the night before.
But no, somebody was talking to me about their 2-piece rod came in half. They got snagged and they were sitting there trying to get it out of the snag, and it loosened up. And when it came off and it followed their line down to the jig, when they couldn't get the jig and broke the line off and lost half a rod. That's happened when I was teaching that class here in town. That happened before. Kid got snagged, and pretty soon all of a sudden I'm looking over there and he's got half a rod, and I'm like, what happened to the other half? It's in the water. So
no, this clearly was a broken rod.
it was a broken one.
It was
Okay.
broken. It wasn't a half a rod. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I know down on the bottom you can see where it cracked and broke. But
Yeah, you see cool things. I
Yeah.
mean, wildlife all the time. I think one of the coolest things I've ever seen here is during the winter we were walking the one time and there was otters playing on the ice, and we don't see otters very often.
Right.
So that was pretty cool seeing. And they had no clue we were there, so it was kind of fun watching them. And then pretty soon they saw us and got out of there in a hurry. But
me and Jeremy had a beaver come up to us here a couple weeks ago. I mean, right close. And
right. Well, I saw Jeremy's beard and it was like, I don't want nothing to do with that.
brothers.
Didn't want nothing to do with that. Look at that trapper. I'm out of
I
here.
believe it.
I get sold
He was
on
probably wearing a flannel too.
Yep.
He looked like something no beaver would want to mess with.
It's what I mean. People are like, oh, well, I swam up the wrong river.
Yeah.
My dad had a skunk come at him the other day. He was fishing
Really?
and looked over, and here comes a skunk walking right towards him. It's
No
kind of
kidding.
like,
Yeah. What do you do?
Right.
I mean,
hopefully you can make some noise and chase it away without it getting defensive.
Yep. I went down fishing Lake McConaughey here. It was September, probably 4 or 5 years ago. Went down with Tanner Vogel, and there's a guy down there, and the technique that they use late in the year like that is slabbing. And you use a big, like 4-ounce weight, big lead weight, and then it's kind of got a treble hook underneath of it, and you try to mimic, you find the big balls of bait down there, drop your slab in there, and start, just ripping it hard, like a rip and wrap, and those walleyes or wipers or whatever come through there and smack it. Well, there was this guy who was telling us about this place called Shingles. That was the spot that he fished. And there actually used to be a town, and I don't know if it was McConaughey or what it was, but there was a town down below in the lake. And when they made that reservoir back in the 30s or 40s or whatever it was, obviously there's still some building structures down there. And when he was slabbing, he would actually every once in a while drop it down onto an old building or something like that and rip it up. And so he called that spot Shingles, and he said every once in a while you'd rip up and get a shingle. So that's kind of cool. I mean, you think about that 80 to 100-year-old building and you're ripping shingles off the top of it, but you start to think about places like that or whatever. You get down there with a slab or something like that, there's no telling, especially if you're letting it bounce on the bottom, there's no telling what you might pull up.
What's at the bottom of some of these lakes and stuff? I think it would probably amaze people and be surprised.
Yep, old hubcaps to cars or,
Yeah, old cars. I mean, it's, especially out in South Dakota where most of the lakes are old flooded out sloughs, so there's farm places and, like you said, buildings. Combines, tractors.
Eric went fishing up at Devil's Lake, North Dakota once, and I've never been up there, but he said that the boat ramp was an old acreage, and they would go drive down this old farm driveway and put in and drive right through their grove out to the lake, and yeah, I'm sure there's no telling what you might hook onto at some point, but
as long as it ain't a dead body, I'm all right.
Yeah, I've always, especially when somebody drowns over at Okoboji and then you're out there on the dock fishing and whatnot, it's like, oh my God,
right.
I don't know what I would do.
Well, which lake was it up there in South Dakota a couple years ago where those 2 duck hunters at the end of the year drowned in a duck hunting accident, and they asked the public not to fish that lake during the winter. And,
really?
Yeah, it was a bad deal. So
yeah,
at least nobody was up there fishing. I don't think you'd want to be fishing out there and if something like that happened.
Drop your underwater camera down. And
yeah.
Oh boy.
No, thank you. Well,
no.
It freaks you out enough when a muskrat crawls up your hole.
Have you ever had that?
I've had them swim by. And
Have you really?
Yeah.
I've never had it. Never had them swim by. Never had one climb out of my hole. But I've seen videos of it.
Right. I think I'd rather have that happen than a Ramsey coming in. And,
Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But well, unless you got something else.
no, it's going to be another good week for fishing, and it seems like we're getting some stable weather now, and the
Yeah,
bite is heating up.
yeah. Hopefully we'll get out, maybe do some walleye fishing, do some bass fishing,
Yeah.
do some
Whatever.
river fishing.
Whatever's biting.
Yeah, we're all right. And I'm really not opposed to going over there to the grade, throwing out some night crawlers and catching a couple bullheads. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's episode 26. Tune in next week for episode 27. Thanks for watching. See ya.